home of the stars, through the airwaves and on the big screen. Coming to you live from Hollywood, it's Rated G Radio with your host, Garrett Miller. Hey everybody, welcome to Rated G Radio. We're starting a cool week of exciting programming, and if you want to catch all the details, you're going to have to go to my pro wrestling themed weekly preview on Facebook, brother. And you can check that all out. Tonight we're going to be welcoming comic John Kuperman. I think the term is just used as comic. We'll have to ask for English clarification here. John's going to be on in just a second. We've got a whole slew of topics. You picked a great night to tune in, and we'll be bringing John on in just a moment. On Tuesday and Wednesday this week, I would say dueling psychics, but they're not in competition for one another. You're welcome to call either or both nights. But tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific, we got Lisa Peeney. She's out of St. Louis. Wednesday is Rebecca Fisk. I just tell you this because these are usually non-psychic listener nights, and when we have the psychic listeners on, which is great, I love all of you if you're listening tonight. I call them the psychic surfers because they call around to all the shows, and they ask the same questions to all the shows. So if you would like to be a new caller to the show on Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm just going to tell you a little secret. The phone line's open 15 minutes before the show starts, and if you'd like to get your call answered, just call in, and I'll just say, I'm one of your regular listeners, and I'll make sure I put you at the front of the line. I'm not telling you that. I'm just stating what's going to happen. Thursday, I've got Rob Fast. He's an author of a fitness book. He's going to be on talking about that, which will be cool. Friday, we've got Lexica. What a cool name. She's totally hot, and she's going to be on the show on the Friday Night Dance Party starting at 1 p.m. We've got 7 or 8 of her songs. A couple of them are remixes. Very, very cool. You're going to love Lexica, and that's going to be Friday at 1 p.m. So that's this week's programming, and as I love to say, without further ado, our very special guest of the night, Mr. John Kuperman. John, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm a little sad. I'm not a psychic. I don't know if I should actually be on the show tonight.
Let me look at my crystal ball, and I will take a look. Crystal ball, I actually have a crystal ball, and I am holding it in my hand right now. It says, John, be on the show tonight. And it's not a magic 8 ball, so I don't have to, shake it and then turn it upside down, and the answer I'm getting is yes. Wow. So you're supposed to share.
All right, good, because I'm not a psychic. I was wondering if I'm supposed to be on. You have a lot of psychics on. I like that, though. That's really cool.
Here's the backstory behind this. When I first started doing the show, it'll be 4 years ago in 2016, I started the show with a co-host, Rebecca Fisk. She's going to be my guest on Wednesday night. So we did this. We did this show, and it was a half an hour. It's called the Garrett and Rebecca Show, and it was totally fun. But here's the deal, and I'm revealing a state secret here. The show went through October of that year, and I kind of didn't want to do the show anymore because I didn't understand at the time that, when people listen to the show to listen to me, they just wanted to listen. They didn't necessarily want to interact. I thought all radio shows everywhere for all times always had people lighting up the phone boards, aching to be talking on the radio. That's not the case. Some people actually listen just to listen to the show. Well, when we do Rebecca's night, Rebecca would always get a zillion callers because people were looking to talk to a psychic. Well, they weren't looking to interact about any other topic. They wanted to know about their cat in the van down by the river, not about, whether or not, Kim Kardashian was going to marry, somebody, or whether Renee Zellweger was going to make another Bridget Jones movie. So when we kind of figured that out, I launched Rebecca off on her own program, and I kind of helped produce and I don't want to say co-hosted, but I was behind the scenes. I did what's called running the board. So I just, screened calls and stuff like that for her for about a year and a half, and that was totally fun. But that let me create really the genesis of Rated G Radio. So it was just 5 nights a week of me, and it was going to be either me just blabbing around or eventually, getting guests. And so one of the things that I came to understand was that when we have psychics on the show, we get a ton of callers, and people really love those particular segments. I like them, and I shouldn't tell anybody this, but they're easy shows because all I do is John, you're on the line with Rebecca. Go ahead, please. And I put myself on mute, and I'm answering emails and, pinging people on Facebook that are talking about the callers or the show or whatever. It's totally fun. But the shows are always, get tons of ratings.
Yeah, so if you were with her for a year and a half and you were like Wham, which one was Andrew and which one would be George?
Oh, I'm totally George, and she's Andrew.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was going to say that. And if you get lots of phone calls for her, I feel left out. Will somebody call me tonight and ask me a question? I want to answer some questions. I think it would be fun to talk with some of your viewers.
You know what would be fun? And I've really kind of toyed with this. This is really evil to say. But I would love to do an advice night. You know, instead of having people call in and say, you know, I'd like a general reading, you know, when they, because, you know, it's, and God bless these people, you know, but when they call in and say, and one question for the longest time, and I finally told Rebecca, this is when we were still doing the Garrett and Rebecca show, because the caller would ask the same effing question every effing week, you know, because we just did Wondering Wednesdays is what we called her segment when she was on. And she would call in and say, okay, you know, should I be with my baby daddy who is in prison, or should I be with this other one who is also a father of one of my kids who is and it was the same question all the time. And I finally, you know, and so Rebecca gave, you know, the answer the first, you know, 38 weeks, and after that I said, you are not allowed to take her calls anymore. Because all she ever does is ask the same effing question. She never takes any advice, and you give the same answer every time. And the thing for Rebecca, and I think it's the same for most psychics, you know, they're not sitting there making notes about, oh, this week, you know, John called and John asked about, you know, this. And, you know, it goes in, you know, when they ask for the reading, if they're, you know, legit, it just kind of, you know, comes out, and then they move on, and they don't bank it at the end of the night. So when I would tell Rebecca, don't you remember she asked the same question all the time? She goes, no, I talk with, you know, so many people that I don't remember, you know, who asks what or any of that type of stuff. So for her, it was like getting a fresh question every week. And for me, it was like, I'm going to put an ice pick in this lady's ear. So, yeah, I would love to do like an advice show. You and I could, you know, take like questions from listeners and then just say, you know, given the fact that, you know, what would you do? And then, or they would ask us what we would do, and then we could each give our own answers.
Right. No, I'd like that. I'd like that.
I think
but
maybe
if someone
we should
wants to call tonight, someone wants to call tonight, and if they want advice on, you know,
anything,
love or, you know, work, or, you know, I have a big toe problem, I'm your guy. I used to sell women's shoes. So if anyone has a women's shoes question, I can help them with that.
There we go. Well, then let's make sure everybody knows it's 323-657-1493. That is the hotline. We are live for the next hour. If you want to call in and talk about big toe problems in women's shoes, John Kuperman is your man.
And one more thing. I'm not like this very often, but I'd like to give a shout-out, if I may.
Sure.
Wesley from Mississippi. I heard he was just out of the hospital, and he's listening tonight, and I think it's wonderful. I'm glad you're listening, Wesley, if you're out there, and wish you all the best. I hope you're doing well, and if you feel like it, let us have a call. We'd love to hear from you as well, Wes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wesley, get better. Yeah. So, you know, you should do that, Wesley. I think you owe us a phone call at 323-657-1493. You need to call in and tell us how you're doing. At the very worst, you need to ping us on Facebook and say, okay, I'm not calling in because, and then give us some lame-ass excuse. But I think that's what we need to have you do. Yeah.
Right.
So last week, I will tell you, John, I promoted your show on Thursday night at the Aldabella Winery, and I also promoted your show all week for the Ice House in Pasadena. How were your shows last week? Yes.
Well, that's very nice. The show at the winery was very good, low turnout, but everyone who was there listened to the show. No, it was fine. It was a good show. The Ice House was a very good show, but it it began off slow because there was a big accident on the freeway. There was apparently a jumper on the 101, and they had to go down the freeway and save a guy. The show began a little bit later, and I went up right away, and I tried to stretch out some of the show as much as I could because people were on their way in still. So I tried to stretch it out because I have others on the show, and I wanted to make sure they were on when someone was in the audience. And while I was up there, people were beginning to walk in and pile in and whatnot. So it worked out well, but it began off slow because of what was going on the freeways out here in L.A.
I will tell you, and okay. I would love your input on this, John. So if I can bother you for your feedback, I would appreciate this. This comes with what sounds like a very cold heart. Okay, so I'm going to preface it with this. That jerk who was on the bridge and had traffic stalled for hours upon hours upon hours because he didn't know if he wanted to jump or not, somebody should have shoved his ass off that bridge, got it done. They would have had that investigation done and over with long before, and let these people get on with their thing. And somebody was posting about this on social media this past week when that was going on, and the comment came back and says, well, you know, as somebody who's suffered depression, and it's the last thing that you're thinking about is the perfect retort came back from, I've had, and it was not from me, but it came back and said, you know, I've had depression. The last thing you are going to think about is this. This guy wanted attention, and all he was doing is trying to get everybody to, you know, rally around him. So it's look at me, look at me, look at me. And from that person's perspective who had suffered, you know, several bouts of really bad, deep depression, I kind of agreed with him. And I didn't want to be an ass about it, but it was like, you know, the 101 is one of the worst freeways around for getting any place.
Make
even at the
it
best
right.
time of,
And I know, and to make it that night at that hour, it's just rude. I mean, it's just rude.
Totally rude. Okay. So anyway, if you want to call and yell at us, call it at 323-657-1493. But I agree. Well, I'm glad that the you know, the shows went well for you then.
Yeah, the shows are going well. You know, I was only heckled by some people, and there were some awkward silences here and there. But besides that, it went very well.
So now, are you wearing a costume yet?
I'm wearing my uniform. Oh, no, I'm not wearing a costume now. I actually just wrapped up my workout session at the gym, and
nice.
I'm in the parking lot. I'm in the parking lot right now. I'm in the parking lot at the gym right now because if I head home, my little one's going to be like yelling, "Daddy, Daddy!" So I'm sitting here outside the parking lot at the gym in Canyon Country. If anyone wants to come by and say hello, UFC out here in Canyon Country, come by and say, I'm listening to you right now. I'll go, I'm talking to you right now. So we can do a bunch of that.
Are you wearing
spandex? No, because I'll get a heat rash.
Oh, well, it is kind of warm out here in Southern California, so I would not be surprised if that's the case. Well, then if you're not wearing spandex, are you at least wearing your baseball uniform?
No, I'll save that for later on. I'll save that for later. But when I wear that, I only wear a hat, and I'm holding a bat, and that's my whole uniform.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm just holding a bat, wearing a hat, and I'm naked. And I'm
well,
a
it depends upon, you know, it could be construed as like a fig leaf because you are potentially covering up, you know, certain things, and that's why you know, walk softly and carry a big stick.
You know, I have, yeah. Yes, I like to carry a big stick with me, Garrett.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Okay. Well, what's been going on in the news? What's been going on in the news that you've been following lately? Because I know that you are like kind of my cultural social media maven here.
Yes. Well, the baseball, you know, I'm a big Mets fan, and they're winning in the playoffs, and I'm very excited about that. They're winning. They're up 2-0 against the Chicago Cubs. In case we have any fans out there who want to talk sports, you want to call and talk sports? Let's call Garrett's show right now. I want to talk about my New York Mets. If anyone wants to call in, I'd be happy to talk to you about that, or women's shoes. I'm so knowledgeable on so many topics, Garrett.
This is why you're here, John. You are here because you really are my encyclopedia. You are my, I could call you my Google John because you just know everything.
Yes. What do you think about Donald Trump hosting Saturday Night Live on November 7th? Apparently, Hispanics all over are trying to get him not on that show. They're trying to cut him from that show on November 7th.
Well, I think that it's interesting because you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, and the only person that's going to benefit from this will be Donald Trump, not Hispanics, not NBC, And so he's either going to be on the show and it will cause an uproar, or they'll pull him off and it will be an uproar because he'll just, he'll go on and say, "See what a big deal I am. They had to pull me." And
exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. It's a win-win for Donald as far as I'm concerned. He's getting free pub totally from it, and then he can talk about the Hispanics with all this going on, and it's a win-win for Donald. I don't see this as anything negative, and he will host November 7th. There's no way that NBC will not have him host. The ratings on that night are going to be huge, huge, and he'll make an ass of himself, and he'll have fun, and he's not, he will be on. NBC will have him on. It can only help him. It won't hurt him. It won't hurt him at all.
Well, I was thinking about this. The only thing that he could do, because with all of this uproar, Saturday Night Live would do some skit with him in it that would make him look really, 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 really bad in a funny way with Mexicans or Hispanics. And I think that, when they keep him on the show, they have to do some type of skit where either somebody impersonates him and then he himself plays Hispanic and makes fun of the Donald Trump impersonator or something like that. You know
what? That is perfect. You should be writing for Saturday Night Live. They got to do a skit where he is the head of like
he could be the Mexican president.
Something. They will do something. If they don't do something, the writers on SNL, and I've applied to be a writer on SNL, and I wasn't hired, so they must have some kind of morals. But this would be good. They got Mexican president. Oh my God, they got to do something like that, Garrett. It would be hysterical, and it would lighten the mood a little bit because he's poking fun at himself. I'm not saying I'm a fan of Trump's. I'm not.
Right.
I think he's an entertainer. He's not a politician. He's an entertainer. He's a businessman, a successful businessman, but he's not a politician. And I'm not saying, God, I hate to talk politics too because I'm not a big politics. I'm not a Pollock either, but I'm not a big politics guy. And but he's not a politician, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think politicians are a little bit warped or whatever. He's not a real politician by the true meaning of the word, but someone we want in office, no. But it's nice and refreshing once in a while to get someone who's running for president who's not a politician and warped by all the ways of politics and everything like that. Now, I think he's nuts. I think he's crazy, but he's an entertainer, Garrett. That's all he is. And this is very entertaining. It's bringing attention to the race more than it ever has before. I think. So, I think this is fun.
What do you think? I mean, honestly, in all seriousness here, what do you think his real end game is? Because if he is in this, what happens if he? Well, what do you think his real end game is? Because I'm going to say, what happens if he actually wins?
I don't. Do you think Middle America would vote for him? I mean,
yes.
Yeah, they would.
I mean,
he's leading the polls.
You take a look at the other choices you have in the Republican Party, and Jeb Bush is unfortunately probably like the next best choice out of the 43 Republican people who are running for president. And out of those 43, you've got Donald Trump and Jeb Bush, and then you got the other 43. So I'm not sure that America wants to go, the third time's the charm or third strike you're out with the Bush family. So having that be the other option kind of is, because all of these superstars that they supposedly were going to have, like the Rick Santorums and the Rick Perrys and the Scott Walkers and things like that, they're slowly falling off. And, we're left with just 74 remaining Republican candidates vying for the nomination.
Nobody said anything about this, but Rick Perry was actually a member of Bernie. I was gonna try to make a joke, and my speech got in the way, Garrett. I was gonna say Rick Garrett was, or Rick. No, see, I screwed it up. I was gonna say he was a member of Aerosmith. Thank you very much. I screwed it up. He's Aerosmith. Nobody makes a big deal. Screwed it up. Rick Perry was in Aerosmith. Wasn't that funny, folks?
That was hysterical.
hysterical.
It's before he got his hair cut.
Yeah. But, it's entertaining. Bernie Sanders is great, too, but Hillary's whopping him in the polls. I thought it would be reversed, but Hillary's really making a number on everything on Bernie Sanders. And on Saturday Night Live last week, they had Larry David play Bernie Sanders, which was classic. Bernie looks exactly like Larry David.
Or
Larry David
looks just like David, or Bernie. But it's. I saw the clip on Sunday morning of that and thought this is just perfectly played. And I'll tell you, it was funny, because they had the other 2 or 3, Democratic nominees on here. Of course, nobody's ever heard of. And that's a shame to say that you've been governor of a state, or you've been a state U.S. senator, representative, and we have no idea who you are. But that's really who the other candidates are. It's Hillary and Bernie, and then that is it. But it was funny how the one Alec Baldwin's character says, this is your next president, whatever, and I want my equal time. I got a kick out of that. I didn't watch the actual. Did you see the real debate?
No, the baseball game was on, the Mets game. I watched the Mets-Dodgers game, and the Mets won, so I was very happy. I was jumping for joy. I screamed so loud when the Mets won, I nearly passed out, Garrett. I got lightheaded, and I nearly passed out. You're talking about a long-life Mets fan, and this is very exciting for me. So, but I was going to say...
The Mets were in the World Series. 1832?
No, 1986.
Okay, it's been a day or two. Okay.
Yeah. But I was going to say, maybe Donald Trump's running mate, Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan said on the internet today, maybe that's how we should say it. Lindsay Lohan said on the internet today in the papers, she wants to run in 2020 for president. What the H is going on in this world, Garrett?
Well, here's what's really going on. Lindsay Lohan still will not be 40 years old by the time 2020 comes around, so she's a little premature. But I like the fact that she is setting her goals ahead of time. So, maybe that's when she really gets an exploratory committee around. I'd seriously consider a Lindsay Lohan as president.
Free drugs for everybody.
Free drugs, and shoplifting.
Free drugs and shoplifting and making bad sequels. I think it would be great.
I think it'd be awesome. And now is she going to run against Kanye? It's not Kanye West, is it? I think it is.
Well, let's see. In 2020, in 2020, she can run against Kanye. But she's going to run in 2020.
Oh, that's right. Who's running in 2020? Oh, I guess it was 2020. It was going to be Kanye that's going to run in 2020, right? So maybe we can have a Kanye Lindsay double ticket.
And Tom Cruise could maybe run. We can get the Scientology card on there.
Well, that would be good because it'll silence all of their opposition.
Yeah.
I like
think it's great.
I think it's, we need more entertainers in show business because the ones that we have in, Washington right now are not entertaining to me at all.
Right. I agree. And on a more serious note, but it's not becoming as serious now, apparently. Lamar, the basketball player, Lamar, is apparently doing much better. Apparently, he woke up, he opened his eyes, and he actually spoke. He said, the Lakers suck, so we know he's coming back. We know things are getting better. The brain is there still. If that's the first thing he says, Lakers suck. He's back. His brain's working just fine.
Oh my gosh.
But apparently, and while we've been on the phone here, Garrett, I got an update.
What?
It said Lamar is being transferred over to Los Angeles right now. So it's looking like he may be all right. I didn't think he was going to live.
I did
not think he was going to make it. But apparently he's responding. The Kardashians, I'm sure, are putting as much money into the care that he needs.
I heard that he's technically broke.
Really? I didn't hear that.
Of course, because I read it on the internet, so it must be true. But I heard that after he and Chloe split up, they sold the home, and then he sold a home that he had either in like Malibu or someplace like that, and he'd been staying at a buddy's place in Las Vegas for a little bit of time. But of course, that doesn't really mean a whole lot. But I don't know. Do you like the amount of media coverage that he's been getting?
Someone posted something today on Twitter, and it is a reality check. Like they show a soldier. He gets no publicity. He saved a bunch of lives. He's missing an eye, and half his head is off. And then there's Lamar Odom, where we get updates every day about him. There is something wrong in this world with that sort of thing, but I think Americans are generally so obsessed with entertainment and celebrities ODing, and we're not obsessed with the things we should be obsessed with, like our freedom and soldiers and all that stuff. But that's just how we are as a society, and it's sad. It's sad. I mean, here I am on the show with you. I'm talking about celebrities and all that stuff. I'm a moron. We should be talking about, we should be talking about these heroes. That's why we're on the radio right now. That's why we have a show. That's why you have a show. It's because of soldiers like this guy, not because Lamar Odom spent $75,000 in a whorehouse. And now we're supposed to look at Lamar as a hero. I mean, I get it that Lamar is very sad and has a lot of issues. I understand that, but we can't look at him as a hero. Now, how he turns this around and makes himself look, he can rewrite his whole chapter here. He can become something positive in this world, and let's hope that happens now after all this.
So if we take a look at other people who have had issues in the past, and you take a look at like the Robert Downey Jr.'s, and you can go down the list, and at one point we were all probably having the same conversation about him. Oh, Robert Downey Jr. He was found in a fetal position in somebody's house, broken, whatever the case was, and now, 20 years later, he's been sober for, most of those years and, has his act together. And that is such a distant memory. Do you think that's even a possibility for Lamar?
Sure, absolutely, as long as he does it right. Now, the Kardashians, him doing the whole reality show with the Kardashians and all that stuff probably wasn't a great move. But I do think that Chloe loves him. Obviously, it's showing that she loves him. I mean, as soon as she found out, even though he was in a whorehouse, she went out there to Vegas, to be by his side. And I really do think she truly loves him, but she couldn't take it anymore because he was so involved with alcohol and the drugs. And even she said, okay, enough is enough. And she's nuts. But it's obvious that she loves him so much, and this could really have a happy ending if he makes it out of this. It could really be a happy ending, and I hope to God they don't make like a reality show out of him after all this stuff. Enough of that crap.
I agree. And with that, everybody, we're going to take a real short commercial break. We're going to hear from our friends at Matters Radio. They are live every Thursday night at 6 p.m. You can go to itmattersradio.com for more information. Here's a little word from them, and then also from our friends at Rainbow Brew. We'll be right back in 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Welcome to our discussion of It Matters Radio. Our guest today is Angus McWilliams.
Aye, laddie, let's get on with this thing. I'm on my way to a birthday party for Nessie.
You're throwing a birthday party for the Loch Ness Monster?
Well, first of all, it's not a monster. And second of all, I'm talking about niece Nessie. She's a wee bit of a lovely lass.
I see. Well, okay. Angus, can you give us your thoughts on It Matters Radio?
Aye, wonderful people. They had me on a while back to talk about my book.
Your what?
My book. I wrote a book about the adventures in Scotland.
Oh, I see. A book.
That's what I just said. What are you, deaf, man?
It Matters Radio focuses on discovering new talent and bringing important indie artists on the air. Monica, Kenneth, and Carrie offer up meaningful conversation on new music, books, and fun topics. It's unlike any other radio program known to man and woman alike.
You can say that again.
Known to man and woman alike.
Just because I said you can say it again doesn't mean you have to say it again.
I'm just doing my best to show everyone that It Matters Radio basically brings variety, fun, and entertainment with a sincere desire to discover new topics and talent.
Oh, why didn't you just say that?
I just did.
Hey, laddie, remind me when I can listen.
It Matters Radio is on every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.
You Americans with your different time zones. We only have one time zone in Scotland.
And that would be?
That would be the time to down a pint or two of ale.
It Matters Radio for the best in conversation, music, books, and entertainment. Join us Thursday evenings at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. Discover the depth, diversity, meaningfulness, caring, guest-focused, friendly, enjoyable atmosphere of It Matters Radio with Ken, Monica, and Carrie.
Oh, that's a mouthful if I ever heard one.
Yes, and I'm going to go brush my teeth now. It Matters Radio.
When it comes to coffee, freshness is queen. That's why Rainbow Brew believes you should have the freshest coffee, roasted to order in small batches and delivered to your door within a couple days. Whether you're purchasing for a coffee shop, restaurant, or home, Rainbow Brew is your one-stop shop for fair trade and organic coffee. Offering many unique blends, including AM 950's own Blue State blend. That's Rainbow Brew, the Queen Bean, a proud sponsor of the Morning Grind. Online at rainbowbrew.com. Brew something good today.
Thank you, Rainbow Brew. Love having you be part of the show. Before the break, John Kuperman, who's my guest co-host tonight, we were talking about the Lamar Odom situation, and we were talking, very quickly before, while the commercials were going on. I said, what do you think would happen if they had been with these same ladies, but they didn't have such a huge microscope under or over them in their relationships that monitored their every single move, even if they'd been famous, like Lamar Odom being part of the LA Lakers? John, what do you think about that?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just having some rainbow.
It's good stuff.
Brew off. It's really good stuff, actually. Rainbow brew is really good. That's very tasty stuff. No, I would think to you during. What's that?
Real quick, Rainbow Brew, they're out of Minneapolis, St. Paul. And I asked them when they came onto the show, and I say this all the time, but I couldn't believe it. How do you make good coffee in Minneapolis, Minnesota? They grow the beans there, and then they roast them and do all this stuff, and then they ship it out worldwide. They'll either grind it or send you the whole beans. And they said, I don't know, it's just, how we do it, and we just stumbled across this particular way, and we love doing it. So I'm a huge fan of supporting small business. They're a small business.
Me too.
And, there you go. So thank you, Rainbow Brew. Anyway, yummy coffee.
Yes, very good. No, what I was saying to you while we were on break is Lamar Odom had a chance last year to play basketball for the Clippers, the LA Clippers. The head coach, Doc Rivers, said, when you clean up, you have a job here. He never cleaned up, Lamar. So Doc Rivers said, you're great. We need you to be straight. And he never straightened out, and it was because of the drugs, not because he's a reality star. It was the drugs, and it's just very sad. But it looks like now this sad sort of an ending can turn around, and he can become a positive role model, and he's got a second chance of life. Now, I think the media might be hiding a lot from us because apparently he had a couple strokes, so when he's out of all this, we may not know him as the same Lamar Odom. He may not be the same, act the same, half his face may be paralyzed. We don't know. We don't know anything yet. So, but it sounds like he's going to make it, and it sounds like he could have a second chance at life and be a positive influence in this world. Now, he's had a very sad upbringing. His mom died. His dad's an idiot. His son died. You know, many people who have been around him, unfortunately, have died. So he's had it rough. But he has a wife who apparently loves him to death. He's got a second chance, and let's hope he makes the most out of it.
I agree. So everybody, this is our official position. We wish Lamar Odom just the very best, but I also wish that we didn't have quite the media scrutiny or spotlight on that, and he could just go about his recovery and not have to be on the front page of TMZ and Entertainment Tonight and everything else. So
I wish there was more things in the news, like a man choking a woman on Southwest Airlines. I just wish there was more of that in this world.
What is up with that?
There was a guy who was choking a woman in front of him on a plane. I think it was out of L.A. yesterday. He was choking the woman in front of him because she reclined her seat too far back, and it annoyed him. Apparently, he was really choking this girl, so the pilot had to turn the flight around and land the plane. The guy got arrested. I mean, you talk about a guy wanting his peanuts. This guy just went to town on this woman.
Is he aware that, like, all seats recline equally on airplanes?
Yeah, and if you're riding Southwest Airlines, it's already cramped as it is. So he's got to know someone's going to lean back in him. And, you know, this woman, who knows, she was probably, you know, she was a little tired. She wanted to lean back. She didn't know she was going to get choked.
I have so many issues with this. Now, in an unrelated topic, you know, it didn't involve choking, but there was an article last week about this lady that got thrown off an American Airlines flight because she wouldn't take her seat. Did you remember seeing that?
No, I didn't see that.
This is like late last week. You were probably busy watching baseball or something important, but this lady got thrown off of an American Airlines flight because she wouldn't take her seat. And you know, and they videotaped it, I guess, and all the passengers were booing the flight crew for throwing her off the plane. This, you know, you've been on a plane once or twice, John. You know what it's like. You know, those airplanes have a very specific window of opportunity to get everybody seated. You know, seatbelts fastened, everything's checked.
Right.
They've got a schedule to go. And if you want to be a dick and not do what flight attendants tell you to do because, you know, they're mandated to be on a certain specific schedule, or they're heavily fined and all of this other stuff, and, you know, possibly they'd lose their job. You know, I really have a problem with the fact that you don't want to take your seat because you're self-entitled or whatever. It's just like, you know, people that we'd see, you know, when they say it's time to turn your cell phones off, and, you know, they don't want to quit playing Words with Friends or Candy Crush. And it's like, well, you know, just a minute. No, now means now. You know, if you have that many more important things to do, maybe you shouldn't be on this airplane right now.
Right. I mean, when I go on an airplane, and I'm sure it's the same with you, you know, with the fans screaming and the autographs going on. It just gets maddening.
It never stops.
Maddening. It never stops, and then you sit down, and this woman wanted me to sign her boobs, and the guy wanted me to sign his balls, and, you know, it just gets so tiring after a while, but it comes with the territory.
The price you pay when you're a burden of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that. Yeah. Well, it's been a while since I've been on an airplane, so I haven't been asked to sign boobs or balls lately, so I don't know what it's like. Yeah. But you know what? I also kind of plan my life around not having to get on an airplane. And years ago, when I was doing, you know, a lot of corporate travel, I was on an airplane, you know, at least a couple of times a month, and I was always upgraded. I had elite status. I skipped all the lines, and it was really, really great. And the year that our company had scaled back and says, you know, we're not doing travel anymore. We're going to do conference calls or, you know, Skype types of things. I said, that's fine. And when I lost my gold status on U.S. Airways, I said, I'm going to fly the least amount as humanly possible. And even like going to Phoenix, I'd rather get in a car and drive, which is a 6-hour drive, than, spend 90 minutes driving to the airport, to get there an hour and a half early, then have my hour flight, and then blah, 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 blah. So unless I need to fly to New York, I'm not getting on a plane. I'll just drive. Because I don't want to deal with all the morons that are sitting there at the airports going through the lines or acting like, this is an episode of the Beverly Hillbillies, like they've never traveled before.
When were you last on an airplane, Garrett?
I haven't, probably, it's probably been at least a couple of years now.
Yeah. And just real quickly, this has nothing to do with that or anything. You're making a new music video I saw on your Facebook next month?
I'm making it. Yeah, I've got a director that I know and I like his work, and he understands about, working on a budget and wants to do something really first class. I'm going to be doing a global crowdfunding thing, like everybody else is doing, saying, please give me some money. But I'm going to be doing the please give me some money. I'm going to do a pitch video next week and throw that out there. It's
very
cool. A song called Sweat and Testify. There's going to be really cool things that I'm going to be giving away for the perks of the program. But the goal is to raise enough money to really help offset the majority of production cost. And everybody who is involved is really just spectacular. And I don't think I'm giving anything away, but there's going to be a rather large element of professional wrestling involved in the music video.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. That's why you see on the Rated G Radio preview for the week me carrying the wrestling belt and giving a couple of throwdown challenges to Richie Slade, who calls himself the champ, and the American Oni, who always goes out wearing a mohawk. So, they know who they are, and I'm going to bring the whoop-ass, and we're going to show them what it's all about when we do Sweat and Testify.
Listen to you, Garrett. You're saying whoop-ass. You called somebody a dick. I've never heard you talk like this before. This is great.
You bring out the best in me here, John. I'm telling you. Good thing
I like
this
it.
Censored.
I like it. I know.
Anyway,
I know.
so
but
what else?
We haven't said bad words.
If we're going to be talking about, saying the word dick, we might as well talk about Justin Bieber. So I saw something, and I will tell you, it was quite impressive. Have you seen things or heard things about Mr. Bieber of late?
I haven't seen the Bieber dick. And
I'll send you a picture.
I wanted to, will you send me a picture of the Bieber dick?
I'm totally doing that.
I heard about this, and apparently his dad's very proud of him. And but apparently his dad wasn't with him most of his childhood and everything. But I heard Justin's a packin'. Is that true, Garrett?
I would say that's a fair representation. That would be a correct statement. Yeah, I would say that would be the case.
Or is it a publicity stunt that somebody supposedly, quote unquote, took his picture while naked, and he had his wang, if you will, enhanced?
No, I don't think that's the case, because he was walking around. Yeah,
he was walking around.
He was walking around, and unless the picture that I saw in the past, and it's not like I searched these things out, but they tend to find me. Unless he had another picture enhanced in the past, I would say that this is actually a real picture, and he's got everything to be proud of.
Wow, I'd like to see this.
And I'm trying to find it on my computer, so I will figure out where I've stored this gem, and I will make sure that I get this over to you.
I stored this gem. I like it, but Bieber, that just upsets me. Bieber is now, not only is he one of the richest guys on the planet, he's got a big dick. Come on. I mean, you're making us normal people look like a peon in every sense of the word. Come on, I have money and I have a Bieber thing down there. This is very depressing.
Yeah, and the fact is that every time if you've ever gone on holiday, I'm sure all you do is walk around naked the entire time. I mean, it's like, even if you are in Bora Bora. By the way, I've just sent the picture over to you. That's the best resolution I have, so I apologize if it looks terrible, but you'll get an idea. But, you don't... Right, I told you.
Oh, my God, come on. Come on.
Well, there you go.
That's like limp, and it's huge.
Right, yeah.
No.
So I told you.
But why is he walking around naked?
Because he was in Bora Bora with his model girlfriend. And, if you are in Bora Bora with your model girlfriend in the middle of nowhere, you would think that, if I went around naked, you'd be fine to do so, and you wouldn't have to suffer any consequences. But I don't really think he's suffering in any way.
Oh my God! And it's flaccid.
Yeah.
It's not been hard.
Well, he could be just a shower and not a grower. If he's a grower and not a shower, then she's really in for,
Or maybe he knew the paparazzi was out there. He got hard and just waited till it went down a little bit and then walked around.
That could be too. I don't know. All I know is that I saw that and I was like, well, that is something to aim for, because that's not me. But I did tell the press. I said I would be willing to go to Bora Bora for 2 or 3 weeks and every day walk around naked if it would help get me higher rankings on Twitter and Instagram.
Oh my God!
I'm waiting.
Oh man! Now I'm depressed. Not only does he have all the money in the world, he's like larger than me 20 times over. This is just horrible.
Well, there you go. Well, let's. On a brighter note, what about what's happening with Britney Spears in Las Vegas?
Oh, they apparently she had a wardrobe malfunction in her show. I think this was last night in Vegas. Her zipper came down, and I don't know if you've seen the highlights of her shows at all.
No.
She won't sing. It's like anyone
it's not a
can
singing
be out
show.
there.
It's a lip sync show.
It's a lip syncing show with her doing outfits and dancing, but apparently something came undone, and all the backup dancers were really cool. They were trying to zip her up in the middle of the show, and she kept trying to do her thing and stuff, but maybe she shouldn't have Kentucky Fried Chicken right before her show, and then popping out of that thing. But,
I will tell you, she needs to eat more Kentucky Fried Chicken because whatever she's doing, she's looking great these days.
She's looking good. But come on, sing. It's a concert.
No. This is Britney Spears is not some. This would be like going to see me in concert. You want to go see the show, the spectacle. You don't want to hear the real voice sing.
I want to hear your real voice sing in concert. You know who never lip syncs? Mr. George Michael never lip syncs.
Well, because he has a beautiful voice. That's why.
That's right.
Mhm. But that's also why on his 25 Live concert that you got to see in person and meet Mr. George Michael, he also had his arm outstretched to the audience for, several of the songs. Everybody sing along with me. And he puts the microphone out, and then, he takes his, 30-second, so the microphone's
when he did that is with the high notes.
Because he has no high range, But none of the, I mean, and no offense, but none of the stars do, because they're not 18 anymore. So if you go to listen to Stevie Nicks, you go to listen to Madonna, you go to listen to any of the singers that are out there that had all these, really high, much higher ranges, 20, 25 years ago, they're also 20, 25 years older, and even with regular singing lessons and everything else, they're not going to be hitting the high notes like that unless they've got a vice grip.
No, and Elton John in concert now, it's just a sad shell of himself. He can't reach any notes anymore.
Well, he's 94. What do you expect?
Yeah, but I've seen Elton John in my life about 10 times probably in concert.
Really?
Loved everyone. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would love to see
Elton John. And here's a little known fact. I don't know if I told you this. 1992, Dodger Stadium. I went to take a girl I was crazy about. This was 92. I took a girl to see Elton John in concert. It was the first show, or the first part of the show was Eric Clapton, and then the second part was Elton John. Elton John sings "Don't Let the Sun Go Down on Me," and who comes out to sing it with him? Mr. Jorge Miguel.
Well, it was right at the time that they were, doing the big promo for that, probably. Yep. Oh my gosh.
It was pretty cool because I love George.
Well, he still lives
there. Yeah, and they were friends then. I heard they had a falling out, but I think they're okay now, Elton and George. I don't know. I'll need to call George and find out.
Would you please? Because I would like to know. Because the gays, they all have to be friendly. You can't have falling out, especially if you're a famous gay, because you're not allowed to. Apparently, I read that in the handbook. So if we can figure out why they had their little snit and then get them to kiss and make up, that would be great.
I know why they had the spat.
Why?
Because George wasn't embracing his popularity enough and releasing enough albums and all that stuff. And Elton thought he should exploit himself a little more. He thought he was waiting too long, like in between albums. He says, you have a great voice, you're a great writer. But, of course, now we later found out that George had a lot of issues with his lover who had HIV and AIDS, I believe. I mean, he went through a lot, George, during this.
Well, I also
time.
thought it was that he was in this huge battle with his record company, and once he realized that he was in this really horrific contract with him, just like Prince did with Warner Brothers, he says, okay, then if that means I never record again, I'll never record again because I've already made enough money to live on the rest of my life, and if you're going to bind me by these really archaic contracts, well, F you, because I'm not going to sit here and make you money and, have to do all this stuff, so I have to pay you to, sell 1 million albums.
A lot of people don't remember that, and he was one of the people who's made it possible with the musicians now why they can have more money with their sales and all that stuff. He was one of the people who led the way, absolutely. But we suffered because we didn't hear his music for years.
Oh, and I will tell you, you know me. I'm George's. I'm the president of his fan club here in Huntington Beach, and I think the man can do practically no wrong. Except, I honestly think that on half of the albums that he would do all these songs on, he'd have like 2 or 3 good songs on an album, and then he had what I call the pot songs or the drug songs. And I don't. What I mean by that is it sounds like he was probably high on marijuana the entire time, because it's like you have album after album after album where he's doing like these bossa nova hits, and you're like, oh my God, George, we need another Fast Love, we need another I'm Your Man, we need another Wake Me Up Before You Go, we need another Freedom, we need another whatever. We don't need another bossa nova marathon. And it seemed like that's what he would do a lot of time. So I don't know.
Right.
Did you hear
the song? Yeah.
Go ahead.
But I like the songs of the last century where he sings all those old songs.
See, you know what? I didn't even know that was coming out, and and I was still at the time, like I would read Billboard magazine every week. I was like on top of stuff. I was in a Target just going through the CD section one time, and I saw that CD, and I'm like, what the heck? And I bought it. Hated it.
You hated it?
I could barely listen to it once.
Wow, Garrett. I thought that really showed off his range. I thought it showed off his vocal range, absolutely. Wow, as a big George fan, you don't like that. That is surprising.
I thought that was the absolute worst thing that he's ever put out, ever. Now, maybe, with retrospect, I can go back and listen to it and have an appreciation for it today. But at the time, I hated it. I hated it with a passion. But I also heard that the only reason he did that album was to fulfill whatever, binding agreement he had to do for like another album, because he refused to put out original music that he wouldn't get money for.
Well, even on the 25 Live tour, he sang a bunch of those songs too, so you would have hated that part. You would have had to go to the bathroom or something when he sang those songs.
I would have if I could have gone at the time. But, he sang like Roxanne, so I got that, and I don't know what else he sang, but yeah, I was like, stop, sing Wake Me Up Before You Go, don't sing Roxanne.
He'll never sing Wake Me Up Before You Go again.
He can't hit the notes. It'd be, wake me up before you go.
Yeah, absolutely. But we love George. Again,
we do.
We got sidetracked by George Michael.
Well,
we always get sidetracked, and I love it.
George Michael's always a welcome sidetrack, and I hope that he comes out with some more music. I loved his last album, Symphonica, which he recorded live at all these places before he had some other health issues, and I never know.
Okay, now that how is that album? I have not heard the Symphonica.
Spectacular.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. And it's for singing everybody else's songs, because he sings quite a few other songs. He sings like "Let Her Down Easy," that was made famous by Terence Trent D'Arby, who doesn't go by Terence Trent D'Arby anymore. One of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard.
Yeah,
Terence Trent D'Arby?
When I saw George Michael in concert out here in Los Angeles, 1990, the opening act was Terence Trent D'Arby.
No.
Yep.
You have all these 6 degrees of separation from everything. This is why I love having you on the show, John.
He was the opening act, and he did "Wishing Well, Wishing Well, I can't tell, oh, wishing well, it's fun, it's not to say." Thank you.
Can I tell you, I hated Wishing Well. You know why I hated Wishing Well? I hated Wishing Well because I felt the lead single was "If You Let Me Stay." That should have been a #1 song for like 3 or 4 weeks on the Billboard chart, and it went nowhere here in the States. And I had a lot of resentment for American radio for pushing Wishing Well up the charts when "If You Let Me Stay" should have been the song that just, really made him a household name, and it wasn't.
Yeah. Do we have a caller? I'm ready to read a psychic reading right now. Do we have a caller for a psychic reading?
We don't, but I have just a little clip right here that I'm going to play, and then we're going to get back to maybe one more story for the night.
Sweetheart, listen, I know the last few phases haven't been good for the both of us, and I've caused you a lot of grief. But put those bags down, okay? Before you make a decision like that, please just listen to me, because I don't want you to leave. I definitely don't want you to leave. Just hear me out.
And, of course, you know what that song is. It's "If You Let Me Stay" by Terence Trent D'Arby.
Yes.
What are the odds that I have that here?
Wow.
Yeah.
Right on cue. Right on cue.
And that is not planned, folks.
I want you to play a lot of his music at the end of the week. Will you play some of his songs at the end of the week when you do your music show?
If I can find them, I will,
Terence Trent, yeah.
Yeah, if I've got a couple of Terrence's songs, I'll do that, and I'll give you a special shout out on Friday just for that. But I think we've got time for like one more song. We've got time for one more song.
What do you want to hear?
I was saying, I'd say let's play "Happy Birthday" for Angela Lansbury, but that's going to take up more than 2 minutes when she's 90 years old. What about the Rosie O'Donnell story?
Rosie, well, I guess she's doing stand-up again, and I don't know if you've ever seen her early stand-up. I was never a big fan of it, but she did something right and became very popular, right? I mean, boy, I'm losing my voice at the end of this hour, Garrett. I've been talking. I need to talk from the diaphragm. Exactly. Oh, well, I need more coffee. I need more of that coffee right now. That would help. But no, I mean, she's making fun of her daughter now, her estranged daughter. And it's like, why go there? I mean, Rosie's just making herself look worse and worse all the time now. And it's just, why? Why are you doing this?
I don't know. I feel bad for everybody that's involved. I do think that you do have a completely different persona that she presents out front that is supposed to be all happy and cheerful. But I honestly think again, never met the woman. She could be just absolutely the most charming person in the world. But I think she's really miserable in a lot of ways. And she's got all these kids, and I think what helps bring her happiness, and I think that's fantastic that she's giving these kids, hopefully good homes and a great upbringing that they normally would not have had. So I applaud her for that. But I think that beyond all of that, there's somebody who's not necessarily very happy.
She does not look happy, and really, she's never really looked happy to me. She's why comedians get sometimes a bad rap that we're always mopey and depressed. That's not the case. You will get some, of course, whatever your job is, whatever the profession is, there's going to be people who are depressed. I get depressed. I think it's normal to be depressed. Now, to a certain extent, that's where you have to watch it. But, gosh, I'm just rambling now, Garrett. But it's just, she doesn't look happy, and she hasn't looked happy in quite some time.
I agree. And I wish her well. And with that, we're out of time. Is there any last closing thoughts that you'd like to share with the listeners? And by the way, this is the last time that we get to speak, at least on the air. I know I'm going to get to shake your hand and give you a hug sometime before now and the end of the year, hopefully in the next week or two. But this is our last time before 2016 because all of the other shows are booked for the next 2 months.
Yes. Well, because your shows are wonderful. That's why. Your shows are great.
Well, I guess like you that make it wonderful. So I'm so lucky and fortunate. But unfortunately, I don't have any other. Everything else is booked. So we're gonna. Here's the good news that John and I have agreed that we want to have more John, and we're gonna make sure John is part of the regular lineup once a month on Rated G Radio in the new year. So starting in January, I think we're going to look for like the third Monday of every month, but we're going to have a regular date that you can look forward to that John will appear every month. So I want to, number one, thank you for that because I love having you on, John.
Thank you. And just really quickly, since I haven't said anything about this before, this Sunday, the 25th, I will be performing at the Ha Ha Cafe in North Hollywood, California at 9:30 p.m. So if anyone's in North Hollywood next Sunday night, the 25th, swing on by, and I'd like to wish everybody very happy holidays, a happy Halloween, a safe Halloween, safe holiday season, a happy New Year, and we'll talk to you. We'll talk to you in 2016.
Wow! And with that, everybody, John, thanks again. We're going to see you live tomorrow night with Lisa Pini. Start time, 4 p.m. Pacific time. Call in 15 minutes before the show starts to get your calls answered. We'll see you live tomorrow night.
You've been listening to Rated G Radio.